Well, let's head straight to the day's market action. The Lal Street regained Friday's losses with the Nifty and the Sensex gaining over 1% each. Reliance, HDFC and ITC were batting for the bulls today, while the IT stocks were the laggards. Broader markets mildly underperformed the benchmarks. Prashant is standing by to wrap up the market action for us. Prashant, shrugging off global weakness, our markets closing in the green this Monday.
Well, there was no opening dip like what we've gotten used to, but there were intraday dips. Even so, the market rallied on and ended almost at the high point of the day, giving bulls hope. You know, Thursday was tough. Friday saw a huge amount of selling pressure, but today, as we start a fresh week, it's green all around. Banks, well, they were not quite up to the mark as the Nifty, but, you know, they were up reasonably, 0.5% or so. The Nifty, of course, was up almost a full 1%. Mid caps and small caps participated as well with about a 0.5% gain each, but they did come off a little bit towards the end of the session. 5 stocks, Reliance, HDFC, ITC, Lever and Bharti, contributed 80 of the 160 points that you had on the Nifty. 50% of the gains came from just 5 names today. Tech names were under pressure, Infosys and TCS in particular. Nothing large, but they were down generally, otherwise up kind of a day. Broader market gains, I mean, very pronounced. It was not as if it was an outsized advances to declines ratio. Some 1,300 stocks higher, 900 lower, so the difference was not huge. But what was up with volumes. Suzlon, Renuka Sugar, UTI AMC, the insurers, the PSU insurers, GICRE, LIC, New India Assurance, I mean, rallying away. HUDCO, PNB Housing, and so on and so forth. Sugar for the second straight day did very well. Public sector banks are continuing to pull back, and we put that piece out in the middle of last week. And, you know, they're down. UCO, Canada, Punjab and Sindh Bank came off a little bit. I mean, the markets had a good session. I think US market stability will be important to track as we kind of go into the end of the year. The 20-day moving average is the near-term level to watch, above which, I mean, I think bulls will find some more confidence. That is still about 120, 130 odd points away from where we left off. Back to you.
Prashant, many thanks for joining us. That was the stock market action, but let's talk about the rupee, which also saw some recovery, stalling a 2-session losing streak. This as the dollar slipped against a basket of currencies in hopes of a demand recovery in China helped boost Asian currencies. The rupee ending at 82.70 against the greenback today. Oil prices regaining lost ground as optimism from China's reopening and oil demand recovery outweighed concerns of a global recession. Brent and NYMEX prices, which tumbled over $2 a barrel in the previous session, are now trading 1% higher. That's oil prices for you. Now, even as the GST group of ministers submitted divergent views on taxation of online gaming, we learned from sources that the government's view is clear, that there can be no distinction between gambling and lottery activities. The CBIC chief Vivek Jory told CNBC-TV18 that the GST rate of 28% will have to be paid on full winning value and not margins. He also told CNBC-TV18 that the GST of 28% will have to ensure that there is no distinction between game of skill and game of chance. Well, that's the latest as far as GST is concerned. Meanwhile, the GST has spelled out a clear definition of SUVs that will attract the highest cess of 22%. The clear definition of SUV states that it must be an SUV if its length is 4,000 millimeters. It must have an engine capacity of 1,500 cc or above, a ground clearance of 170 and above. However, the council has also sought clarification on the taxation of MUVs or multi-utility vehicles. The council has suggested that MUVs be included under the same rate of 22% compensation, says the finance minister. Said the fitment committee will assess this request and come back to the council with an answer. Here's another exclusive today. The government is weighing its options on the free food grain scheme, which has been extended multiple times since it was first rolled out during the COVID lockdown in March of 2020. Now, sources say the government is well placed with regards to grain for the scheme to be extended, should that be the political decision. Sapna joins us now with more. Sapna, you know, the finance ministry has vociferously reiterated its stance that this is a scheme that needs to be wound down, that there is no need for a further extension. But of course, a final call will be taken at the highest political levels. What is the back and forth on whether an extension will be granted or not at this point in time? What are you picking up?
Well, what we are given to understand is the government is definitely weighing options at the moment in terms of whether the PMGKY needs to be extended further. This call, of course, will be taken at the highest level. As far as the food grain stock is concerned, there the government is very well positioned. According to some of the data that has just been very recently released, as of Jan 1, 2023, the wheat and rice stock is likely to be above the buffer norm. And, for the rest of the season also, they are pretty well positioned. I mean, there the commentary is extremely clear. It's very strong in terms of the food grain availability. Absolutely no question of shortage. Whether it's additional allocation for BMGKY or even for the current NFSA, the normal routine outgoes that happen. So that's one side of the story. However, Finance Ministry also in the past has been raising certain red flags on the fiscal impact of the PMGKY extensions. We all know the numbers. The last quarter itself, the extension is going to cost the government additionally 44,000 crores. Another extension, at least for 3 months, will cost them again over 40,000 crores. If the extension is for a large part of the year, then of course the number is going to be much bigger. Plus, even if you look at the current economic situation, the COVID scare has receded. The growth numbers are coming back to normalcy. So under these circumstances, there does not appear to be too much of an economic rationale for extending the PMGKY. But as I just said, this is going to be a call to be taken at the highest level, and we'll just have to keep a watch as to how it really pans out.
Yes, we will have to wait till the end of the month to see if there is an extension granted or not. Sapna, many thanks for joining us. Yes, Bank has completed the transfer of bad loans worth 48,000 crore rupees to the asset reconstruction company JC Flowers. Post the transfer, the bank's gross NPA ratio is expected to come down to less than 2% versus the current figure of over 12%. Now, the telecom subscriber data for the month of October spells more trouble for cash-strapped Vodafone Idea. The operator has lost over 35 lakh subscribers in October, taking its tally to 1.5 crore subscriber loss. That's over the last 7 months. Reliance Jio has added over 14 lakh subscribers this month. They have added above 1.7 crore users in the last 7 months. Rima joins us now with the details on the TRAI data and what this really means for telcos, especially Vodafone Idea. Rima.
Thanks so much for that. So the first takeaway is Reliance Jio has added the most number of subscribers for the 7th consecutive month. In the month of October, Jio added more than 14 lakh subscribers, while Bharti Airtel has added 8 lakh subscribers. In FY23 so far, that's in the first 7 months, where Reliance Jio has beaten peers in terms of subscriber addition, Jio has added nearly 1.7 crore subscribers, while Airtel subscriber addition stands at sub 50 lakhs. So Jio has added more than 1 crore subscribers in the first 7 months compared to Bharti Airtel. Vodafone Idea, on the flip side, continues to lose subscribers. In the month of October, they've lost close to 35 lakh subscribers. In FY23 so far, they've lost 1.5 crore subscribers, and their market share continues to slide lower, currently stands at 21.5%. If you look at the October market share, it's Reliance Jio which tops the subscriber market share at nearly 37%, followed by Bharti Airtel at 32%, and then you've got Vodafone Idea at 21.5%. Now, analysts say the outlook for Vodafone Idea continues to be a bit uncertain because they continue to lose subscribers. The market share continues to slide. The government equity conversion has been pending since January of this year. The debt is high at 2.2 lakh crore as of 30th September 2022. The interest burden is more than 90% of the company's market capitalization. While peers are racing ahead in their 5G plans, Vodafone Idea is yet to announce their 5G plans. And if you just look at the P&L, in the last 4 quarters, in the last 12 months, their losses are in excess of 28,000 crore rupees.
Rima, many thanks for joining us. Yes, trying times continue there for Vodafone Idea. Now, 2 pilot unions of Air India have written to Chairman N. Chandrasekharan seeking his intervention to stop, and I quote, the alleged victimization of pilots and unethical practices. The pilots' unions have reiterated complaints about shortage, overworking, leave denials and salary cuts. Madiha joins us now with more. Madiha, what exactly are the pilots upset about?
Well, this is the second letter written by Air India pilots in the last 1 week, alleging unhealthy and hostile working conditions. The two pilot unions, Indian Pilots Guild and Indian Commercial Pilots Association, have now approached Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekaran, who is also the chairman of Air India. In the letter, the pilots have very strongly written about their complaints. Some of their key concerns include hostile working conditions. The letter alleges pilots are demoralized due to unethical treatment meted out to them by the management. They claim pilots are being intimidated to operate flights beyond their flying hours, which they say disregards Air India's flight duty time limitation scheme. They further allege that pilots are not being paid for the period they undergo training to fly a different aircraft or are awaiting license renewals. They say there is no minimum payment guarantee and pilots are also denied their rightful overtime payment. They also accuse the management of denying leaves to pilots and deducting salaries for sick leaves. The letter ends by seeking the chairman's intervention. It says, and I quote, "We urge you to intervene and put a stop to this victimization. In this, you are our last and singular hope." End of quote.
Madhya, many thanks for joining us. So that is the pilots' unions of Air India, right? Well, the 8th Google for India event kick-started today. Google CEO Sundar Pichai spoke about the need for a more balanced and open internet, adding that it is important for the government to create regulatory frameworks that help companies innovate on top of the local laws of the land. Meanwhile, Information and Technology Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said that the new Telecom and Data Privacy Bill will be passed in the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament. Listen in.
I think India has a leadership role to play here. Again, given the scale and the technology leadership it will have. And it's important to make sure you're balancing, and putting in safeguards for people. You're creating an innovative framework so that companies can innovate, on top of a certainty in the legal framework. So I think it's an important moment in time. But through it all, hopefully India can also be a voice for, India will also be a big export economy, will benefit from an open and connected internet. And I think getting that balance right, I think will be important.
So we are creating 3 horizontals. First is the telecom bill, which is for the carrier. Second is the digital protection bill, which is focused around enforcing citizens' privacy rights. And third is the Digital India bill, which is going to look at practically everything else which is required to be seen. The 2 bills which have been put up for consultation should be completed by July, August. It should pass the Parliament.
Well, that is Minister Ashwini Vaishnav along with Google CEO Sundar Pichai. The Finance Ministry has told Parliament that currently all policies on crypto assets and related ecosystems are being studied, but added that any legislation on the subject can be effective only with significant international collaboration to prevent regulatory arbitrage. Parikshit joins us now to take us through the crucial issues taken up by Parliament today. What's the Parliament corner looking like today, Parikshit?
Well, a lot of questions to the Finance Ministry on the economic situation in the country and cryptocurrencies. In fact, the Ministry of Finance told Parliament that the Finance Ministry is looking at a policy on crypto assets and the regulatory ecosystems for cryptocurrencies, and that any legislation will require international collaboration. The ministry also informed Parliament about the probe against crypto exchanges. According to the government reply, proceeds of crime amounting to 907 crore rupees have been seized under PMLA, or Prevention of Money Laundering Act. 3 persons have also been arrested. Under Foreign Exchange Management Act, ED has attached assets amounting to 290 crore rupees. 12 crypto exchanges have been probed for GST evasion in the country. On the question of how the global recession would impact India and rupee depreciation, the government says India is likely to grow by 6.8% in FY23 and will continue to be among the fastest growing economies in the world. And while the rupee has depreciated 6.9%, it has performed better than most of its Asian peers. The government has also been asked questions about the congestion at the Delhi airport. Yes, parliamentarians continue to speak about this, to which the Ministry of Civil Aviation furnished a 13-point reply on deployment of additional traffic marshals, display boards, CISF officials and additional X-ray machines to reduce wait times.
All right, Parikshit, many thanks for joining us. Now, the big story, Lionel Messi led Argentina to beat France emerging the champions of the World Football Cup, ending their World Cup dry spell of 36 years in what was by far the most nail-biting World Cup final contest. Argentina trumping France on penalty kicks after both teams stayed locked at 3-3 after extra time. Messi won the Golden Ball for the best player, while France's Kylian Mbappe won the Golden Boot for scoring 8 goals in the tournament. Here's a look back at Argentina's moment of glory.
He and Julian Alvarez account for 9 of Argentina's 12 tournament goals. Olivier Giroud is another of 5 in this side who also started the equivalent game in Moscow 4.5 years ago. France again, or Argentina at last. Each for the right to a 3rd star on their national jersey. Fernandez. All through for Di Maria, touched on by Alvarez. Di Maria, away from Koundé. He's got the ground, he's got a penalty! A breath, a heartbeat, and Messi! Messi. Oh, lovely. Delightful. Alvarez, here's McAllister. Di Maria is the spare man, and how Di Maria! Glorious goal! Mbappe, compelled, obliged. France just might. Mbappe, Thuram, Mbappe! Oh, wow! Julian Alvarez, Lionel Messi.
He knew the ball was in space there, just couldn't get it to him.
Well, the script was seemingly written, the die was seemingly cast. It's Montiel. Lautaro Martinez, Lionel Messi, Fernandez, Martinez, Messi! Mbappe. Into the galaxy of greats! Held up by Romero, but not for long. Kylian Mbappe, and still.
I think he thought about having a shot from the tighter angle and then thought, no, I'll duck in again. What a dribble.
Coleman. Great stop! Martinez is punching the air again! Montiel. Argentina, champions of the world!
And 32 million viewers tuned into Jio Cinema to watch the final clash in the FIFA World Cup 2022. Digital viewership overtaking TV for the first time. The tournament has become the most watched global sporting event on digital that did not have India participating. Manglam has done some number crunching and he joins us. Manglam.
Well, while we're all talking about how thrilling the match was, the exciting match, etc., and perhaps the greatest football match of FIFA final that we've seen, well, it also means that it was also the most watched football match in India. In fact, the big headline from FIFA finals this time around was that digital viewership has overtaken TV viewership for the first time. 32 million people tuned into Jio Cinema for the final day of FIFA World Cup, and that's just the final day. In fact, over the entire World Cup duration, there were 110 million viewers. So 11 crore people actually went ahead and consumed the football on digital content. Cumulative reach for the first 58 matches on television was around 47 million. So assuming that they even doubled that number in the second half, digital was far ahead of television itself. India, as a result of this, has actually become one of the highest digital viewership markets for FIFA, an event where it does not even participate. So that's a record of sorts. And as far as business is concerned, advertisers, there were over 50 brands across e-commerce, banking, financial services, auto, fashion, hospitality, fintech, all of them coming in to advertise on these platforms itself. And why just India? Globally as well. We had tweets from global tech leaders. Sundar Pichai tweeted that search, that's Google search, recorded its highest ever traffic in 25 years on the final of FIFA World Cup. He said that it was like the entire world was talking about just one thing. And Elon Musk as well said that 24,400 tweets per second was the frequency at which people were tweeting when France hit that goal itself. So world over, people were talking about it on digital, and India, 3.2 crore viewers on JioCinema apps.
Mangla, many thanks. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues right after this break.